So I used to use Riverside.
Yeah, they just sent me the new link.
Right, and I switched about a few weeks back to StreamYard. Someone recommended it. So
Good.
here we are. So hello, my friends. Thanks for joining us on another episode of the Immigrant Experience in America. We have another great guest for you today. Her name is Erica Warner. She's from Colombia. So she's Colombian American, and she's first generation immigrant from Colombia. She'll be sharing with us about her business venture. She's an entrepreneur and she does English as a second language. And so this will be very, very well tailored for our audience today who are living abroad and who are in need of assistance learning English and other languages. So, welcome, Erica.
Thank you very much. I'm so happy to be here. Simon, do you know this is my first podcast as a guest ever?
Really? I'm so happy.
Ever.
Like, I was pulling up my microphone, it fell off the desk, so we'll just leave that off. The recording should be fine.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Okay. So tell us a bit about Erica, where you're from, what brings you to the US, and so forth.
So I'm from Colombia. I always carry my colors. So everywhere I go, if I'm going to do something public, I carry my colors. So I'm from Colombia. And I just became a citizen last year, actually, an American citizen. But
Congratulations.
yes, thank you. I'm very excited. I was able to vote for the first time, and now I can go back and forth, visit my family, which is what I'm doing right now. I'm actually outside of the United States right now. I have been living in USA for 10 years. I started as a student of English, and now eventually I became a teacher of English. So my whole journey went full circle.
Very good. Very good. Okay. And okay, so tell us a bit about, are you in Colombia today, joining us from Colombia?
No, I'm actually visiting my family in Spain. If there is something that I can tell you about you, like if you tell me a word that defines you, it's immigrant, because I've always been an immigrant, first in Europe, then in the United States, and I have been traveling a lot, teaching English as a second language all over the world. So I'm always traveling, and but always with my mission of getting English to people, because now more than ever I have been seeing that it's so necessary. This language is becoming more and more like the universal general language, not the most important, but definitely the one to communicate the most everywhere you go. So right now I'm in
Right.
Spain.
True. Oh, yes, that's true. I think if you go to a lot of countries, they'll have their native tongue and English. In most places, people will know some sort of English to be able to communicate with you.
Yeah,
Very important for business, travel, and the influence of the US and the
and
UK
social
on your
media,
method of
and for
work and
social
social
media.
media. That's right. That's right. So tell us a bit about Colombia, what life is like in Colombia, and also by extension, Spain. Like, what is life like in these two places that you've been?
So, I have been living now, I just turned 37 yesterday, and I say I have been living every part, like a quarter of my life in every country. I lived my childhood in Colombia, then my teenage years here in Spain, and then my adult life in the US. And I can really, I don't know anymore what I am. Like I'm always a guest, but I'm always like a person from this country. I'm confused. Colombia is just color and music and happiness and community and family. Spain is loud and fun, and it's all about food. And yes, siesta is true. It's very popular, taking a nap, which I love. And for me, the US, which I love, I cannot say more than the others, but the one thing I will say about the US is that it taught me the importance of civic engagement. Like, that's the way I define the US. There I feel like people are really engaged in the community, in education, in the environment. So I have learned a lot about being engaged in my community and using my voice louder in the United States, actually. So I have a
Wow.
little bit of every country. I love the rest. When I'm in Spain, is you learn to rest and not work so much. In US is you learn more about being productive and following your dreams. And in Colombia, it's all about family and community. It's just a little bit of everything. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, certainly. So that's interesting because I actually, I can highlight and underline the expression that you're making there in in defining what the U.S. is like, civic engagement.
I
So
like
for a lot of immigrants coming from communal cultures where there's lots of family, community cohesiveness, a lot of times people might not have a sense of a strong self identity. And when they come into the US, it's kind of where, through the whole assimilation, integration, accommodation process, you kind of learn your sense of self. And now and being like almost unmuting and speaking up and having a voice and using that voice. So you're actually expressing that.
Oh yes, there is like an awakening. That's what I will call it. That's what I went through. I was an immigrant in Spain for 13 years, and I never was as engaged as when I started living in the United States. That's when I felt like I was born as a loud voice and started exercising my rights and fighting in a way for what is right. There is that sense, maybe for an immigrant more than for other people. I can only talk from my own experience, but I feel like since I moved to Idaho, that's where I'm from, is on the West Coast, very rural state, and I was always the only Colombian. I started to having this sense of like speaking for my people and representing my people and having this awakening once I was in the United States. I've never felt it so strongly before.
Wow, wow, very good, very good. Thanks for sharing that. Interestingly, I have never thought of Spain as being loud.
Really?
I actually would associate loud with Latin America and the Caribbean more than I would Spain. So give us a little bit
Really?
more about that. Like, wow,
I
is
can
it the
tell you this.
party?
Yes, I can tell you this. I was extremely worried for this interview because there is not a single day, part of the day, where the city or the people is quiet except for like nap time, which is around this time. So I'm very excited that it's around this time that we're having an interview. It's a very loud country, but not in a bad way. Just people are talking all the time. Neighbors, you can hear music, you can hear people talking in the bar. It's not like when you can go to a cafe and work from a cafe. You cannot work from a cafe here because everybody is engaging very loudly about sports and the news, and their last family visit is a very loud country. I will say that. And I have noticed it more than ever here now because I live in Idaho, which is quiet nature. Now I'm here. I am in Palma de Mallorca, which is an island city. It is so loud but happy. Like people are just very alive and lively.
Yes, yes, yes. I completely can relate to that. I lived in Mexico City for like 2 years and kind of went back and forth throughout the country. And I would say that kind of reflects that sort of there's always a sound. There's honking, there's music playing, there's people in the street, there's like dancing or something going on.
Danger.
Mexico is kind of like that. So even though there are certain parts that can be more sleepy and quiet and more laid back, but Mexico City is a very vibrant city. So, and I've heard certain cities in Colombia can be that as well. And some
Well,
places
yeah.
in the Caribbean, I think it's probably just all that vitamin D and sunlight. People are just always out, happy, engaging, cooking, having family get-togethers, community coming get. It's like they share everything, right?
Yeah.
It could be in a good way and also a bad way, sharing everything. But that's the whole collectivist part of
No
our
filters. You're in
nature.
Spain. No filters in Spain.
I had a friend who studied there some years back, and I've always thought, oh, two of my friends actually studied in Spain, but I've always wondered what it was like to be that part of I've visited France, and drove to I think the Belgian border, but I never really went to anywhere else. I just came back through the airport, took the train and all of that to Paris and that. But I wonder what the other parts of Europe is like. So I've heard great things about Portugal,
Yeah.
Spain, and so forth.
Yes, it's extremely different. But I'm sure that I was in New York recently, and it reminded me of that feeling of loud people and never stopping sounds. It's interesting. You have to find quiet moments, because I'm very used to quiet moments now that I live in Idaho in the United States. So I'm missing
Yes.
that.
Yes, yes, and no, I can totally relate. And something that I've actually thought about recently, because I'm from Jamaica originally, and the culture
Oh
can
yeah.
be just as loud sometimes. Because I'm a part of a family, one of 12 on my mom's side, one of 11 on my dad's side. So you can
Whoa.
imagine, there's always people. There is never a little corner that you can find. I don't know how grandma did it, how my grandmas did it. They were always cooking for all these children, and they're amazing. I don't know how they did it, but they did, and left quite the legacy for us.
Exactly.
But I've often wondered, like, how do they? Everybody's talking at the same time,
Yes.
and to probably Americans or people from the West, they might be one. You're taught when you're here in the U.S., like you wait for somebody to stop
Yes.
speaking, and then you start speaking. And oftentimes, I find that I lose my if I have something that I want to express and I wait for the person to end, sometimes I lose my thought and then I forget what I wanted to say.
Correct.
So I can understand people are probably saying, "Oh, I don't want to forget what I want to say." And then everybody's talking at the same time. So you're wondering, how are they understanding each other? How are they communicating? Because everybody's talking and going at it at the same time. It's so interesting.
Yeah, it's the strongest one wins. My husband is here with me and he's from the United States, from Idaho, and he's just like, at the beginning he was just like, I give up, I'm not going to try. And now he understands, like, if he wants to make his points across, he has to get in the little, it's like a fight, like a chicken fight. So you gotta get in or they're never gonna let you in. You have to get in and make your point. And if you start talking louder than everyone else, then the other people stops
And
uh,
listen,
and listen to you. The other, it's a fight.
right. And interestingly, I have found when I first was here, um, the guys are yeah, they're cutting the lawn outside, and so I didn't even realize they're going to be here at
You
our
can hear it.
property, like right, exactly right at this moment. Because he was way over when I was driving out this morning. He was on the other side, and all of a sudden now here he is in the background with the noise. But this is life, right? This
Yeah,
life goes on, people.
yeah.
If you're
Everybody
hearing
has.
in the background and you're listening and you hear a lawnmower going off, somebody's cutting the grass.
It's
But
summertime.
I've always wondered, like sometimes I felt like I can be like very calm, and then my energy just is like very high, like when I'm around my family. And then kind of understanding the whole American culture. And I actually think that I've actually become very Americanized,
Yeah.
because I find now that I'm around my family, I wait for people to finish talking before I get my word in. And sometimes I actually feel like I get a little anxious when I'm in groups where everybody's like going at it. And I'm like sitting here waiting respectfully, like waiting for my turn, and it just never arrives.
No. I am feeling that more now than ever because this is my first time here as an American citizen, but I come all the time. But I was like, did something happen to me? Like, did the passport do something to me? Because I am feeling more American than all my previous trips. I do feel with less desire to get in the fight. Actually, has been good for me because people talks and it helps me to stop my thinking because I'm an overthinker, but now everybody's talking and I actually don't have time to have my own thoughts, which is nice. It's like everyone else's thoughts are invading my brain. So it feels good. It's a break from myself.
Oh, interesting. That's an interesting view of it. Okay, yeah, thanks for that kind of colorful view of Colombia, Spain, and the US. That comparison there, that's quite interesting. Um, I guess I'm wondering, like, what sort of, talk about the culinary side of things, like foods and festival, like what you guys do on an average day. Like, what is life like, your experience with growing up in Colombia and then experiencing Spain versus the US?
I feel like you can really tell a lot from a culture from the way they treat food. And for me, food is everything. Like the number one thing I miss the most when I am in the United States is lunch and dinner and the food experience. Because I feel like I don't know if it's everywhere, but in my experience, it's so short. Like lunch and the food meetings and in a restaurant is so short. on my first day with my husband, we went to a restaurant and we were still in our first course, and he asked for the bill, and I was extremely offended. I said, "Do you want to leave? Is this date over? Why are you asking for the bill already? We haven't even have dessert." Because here in Spain, lunch takes forever, and you have to go and look for the waiter and tell him, "I want to leave. It has been 3 hours."
Oh,
Well,
wow. Like they leave you alone to just
they
pass
leave you
the time.
forever. They leave you alone forever. I just had lunch before this, and it was like 2 hours and a half, and they never came. They never came. But in the United States, it feels like, again, there is this sense of productivity a little bit more, and I feel it can be reflected at dinner time, at meal time. I feel like it's shorter. And I'm teaching my son. I have a 5-year old, and he eats very fast and gets off the table, and we still have like 2 hours, 2 more hours of food. And I said, you need to start staying 5 more minutes every day, so you don't come off as disrespectful, because here the food experience is long, long. First is just always here is first bread and olives, then the appetizer, then the first course, second course, then the dessert, then coffee, and then a post meal liquor of sorts. So it's like a long experience. And
Mm,
in Colombia, I am from a small village, so it was all about preparing food from scratch, from like actual scratch. I mean, the animal is alive and we're gonna go get him or get the animal and kill the animal and then prepare the food. It takes even longer. It's a whole day affair. It's like Colombia is the longest and here is shorter, and the United States is the shortest one of all. But all they all focus on spending time together. But I feel like in the United States it's less time. I definitely
right.
think that is less time together. Sometimes even a lunch for business, it feels like an appointment. While here, if there is food, no matter what kind of meeting it is, if there is food, it's not an appointment anymore. It feels more near, more close. Like it feels more warm, like love.
Right.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. I grew up in a setting like that where we grew up with we had a donkey, we had
Yeah.
goats, cows, chickens on our property, at pigs.
Yeah.
And if there's an event that's going on, somebody would come at the crack of dawn. They will, yeah, I guess the word it sounds so graphic. I'm sorry, but how
It's very graphic, but
they
that's the
like
way it is.
like they do their thing to the animal and prepare the meat. Let me say, for those who are listening, they do their thing, prepare the meat and cut it all up in pieces, and then they move on to actually cooking it, like these huge
Everyone has a job.
pots of cooking, because there'll be so many people coming, the neighbors down the way, and there's no formal anything of an invitation. People
No,
just
no,
come,
no. People
you
didn't
know,
show up.
yeah, exactly. Here in the US, everything is so formal. You can't just go
Very
to somebody's house. You need an appointment. In fact, if you do, I know a friend who was very upset of people like surprising her at her door. They were friends and they would just show up thinking they were doing a great thing, and she
yes,
was so upset.
yes. There is a big cultural shock there, and I have noticed that if you go to Colombia, it doesn't matter what time of the day it is. Somebody will feed you food, no matter what time of the day it is. And here, if in here in the United States, sometimes I've noticed that I go to a place and it's around dinner time, they kind of like make you leave so they can have dinner. And I remember going to many places thinking that they are going to feed me. And then I found out very soon in the United States that I better eat at home before I go somewhere with the expectation that they're going to feed me. It's just cultural, it's different. You
It
learn, you learn.
sure is, yes. There's a lot. Life, I think, is built around work
Yeah.
here and
Oh,
productivity, as you express in the
yeah.
US. And everything else is shaped, that the work shapes everything else, right?
Yes.
You're expected to, you get up and you go to work. If you see a neighbor who needs help, if their car's broken down or if something happened, you got to be at work at 8:30 or 8 o'clock. And so people, you just keep going. You mind your business. The neighbor will handle their stuff themselves. Outside of here, in some cultures, like in Jamaica, for example, if a neighbor needs help, people stop and they help their neighbors take care of whatever.
Yeah.
The goal is not necessarily to prioritize work, but it's about relationships,
It's a
community,
relationship. Yeah. Yeah.
right? Community cohesion. But here in the US, you find that little, the society isn't necessarily built around community and building relationships, and you have to actively form relationships, nurture those relationships, and bring people together, invite them, have an event, invite people over, or everybody just get in their own little silos. It's just work, taking the kids to school, cooking, watching a show or something, and then you really don't really get to see people at all.
Yeah. Or you can.
It's really sad.
I like to establish with my husband at home in our home that if people come over, we're always gonna give them food. Just like so to start that tradition in our little community in our friend group that this is a house where we feed you. This is a house that you can show up without having an invitation on the calendar, and then people you will be surprised how much people model other people in their community. So now that I always go to a house in my friends, now I have been living in the United States for 10 years, and they know Erika is always hungry. She always wants food. So now they know that when I go to their house, they feed me because they have been seeing it, that when they come to my house, I feed them. And at the beginning, I was shy and I wouldn't say I'm hungry or I thought you were going to feed me. But now that we have real relationships throughout the years, I'm very
Mhm.
open about like if we're going to have an appointment, there has to be food involved or I'm not interested. And they
Right.
say, you're so straightforward. And I say, food is very important for me.
Right. Yeah, it makes you feel welcomed. A very warm exchange. It brings you together when you sit and break bread with
Yes,
friends.
it feels like there is
Um,
less of an ending point. It feels more natural that, wow, I have to leave at 5. It doesn't feel like that when there is food. It feels like there is not an end inside. And I like that feeling of when are you going to be done? I don't know. We don't know. In the United States, it's more like 3:15 to 4:45. And I like this kind of sense of like openness. I like it.
Right, right. Yeah, I do miss that part. Like when I go around my family and we all get together, there's lots of food and we just sit and eat and talk and play games and just hang out. And
I
it
know.
fills you up. And I really, it can be very isolating for people here in the US,
Wow.
where you just feel, especially if you come from a community that has those sorts of practices,
Correct.
it leaves you feeling empty, like you're not connecting. And a lot of times I have found people aren't really interested in connecting or building community or connecting like that. They just want a transaction. You come to their kid's birthday party and you come for like 12 to 2 and it's
Mhm.
over and you're gone and you won't see them again until another year. You won't, yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's very isolating and I want to say I would call it kind of empty, void of warmth, because everything is just about transactions and productivity and work, and it's really seeped into the way that people live at home.
I think that is why I have noticed that too. But I think that is why it is so important diversity. I feel like if that is all you know, that is all you do. But if you start bringing into those communities people from other communities that have an open house, that have a 7 hour birthday party, people like it. They're interested. They start trying and experimenting, and they know that if they come to my birthday party it's not going to finish after 2 hours, and they are curious, they just don't have experience. And I feel like that is so important. That's why it's so important that there is people like us in every circle in society so we can start learning from each other, because we definitely learn about the productivity. I have learned I am the most productive person now in the world. I learned that there, and then we can do this exchange. I learned to be productive, and now you can learn with me to relax, to cook together, and there's this beautiful exchange of cultures that can happen too.
Right, and to help people create more of a balance,
Yeah,
because
about
there's the stress level here is through the roof. Anxiety, people don't really put a lot of time into home cooking and cooking healthily. And so you find there's a lot of health issues. People aren't sleeping. And I mean, it shows in the lifestyle isn't always the healthiest, and so there needs to be a balance of, like blending that collectivist communal side with this work productivity side that exists here in the US. There has to be, or else at the end of the day, the life expectancy will start dropping, right?
Yes, yes. And the anxiety, yeah. Wow.
Yes. So, tell us about what you do in your work, with as an entrepreneur, and what led you down that path. I know you said you entered the US as an English
Student.
student, as a
Mhm.
student.
Yes, and that's how everything started that way. I went to study English in Denver, Colorado, with a J1 visa, which is the visa for intercultural exchange. I was working as an au pair for an American family, and I had to attend ESL classes as part of the visa. I had to go to classes and I had to help the family with the children. So I went to ESL classes, and I was 21 when I started going to those classes. And what happened was, on my first day of school, I went to school and I was the only young person there. That my job was to study in English, and that's it. And everyone else, all my classmates, were just workers. So they were coming to class in their outfits from work. So they will be there in their construction or their nurses. Or like, you could see all the uniforms, and you could see in their face that they're tired, that they're busy, that they are in the lane of productivity, right? And they were so cute. That's the word. They were so cute with their uniforms and their notebooks and their pens, and I just look at them, and I have never felt so much like pride and love. I just fell in love with these people because
Mhm.
I was like, here I am, this is my only job. I'm 21, and they are doing this because they want to do it, because they want to create a life in this country, and they're learning and they're tired and they have children. I didn't have children at the time, and I was just fascinated by this. So I said that day, I remember it was in November, I know the day exactly, November 15, 2013. And I said, oh my God, I am going to become an ESL teacher. I want to be an ESL teacher. I'm going to go back to school and get my teaching degree. And someday I'm going to be an ESL teacher, because I think I just found my vocation in this classroom. And that's what I did. I went back to school and I got my teaching degree, my TEFL certificate to teach English as a foreign language. And I worked a lot in different, in public school, in private schools, in community college, in the library, everywhere I worked. And then during the pandemic, I decided to just go ahead and start my own school, because I still noticed a little gap between the education system and the actual immigrant experience. Um,
Mhm.
there, there is a lot of resources for English learning, so many, but there was something that was missing that I noticed. There was English for like real immigrant workers. I was hoping to help some of my classmates finding English for like the construction job, or landscaping jobs, or people that a lot of Colombian women work as nail technicians. And I
Mhm.
was trying to help them because I was the best one in class, because I was 21 with no obligation. So they were always asking me for help. And I will go to YouTube or to the internet to look for this stuff, but there was nothing. There was always English for traveling, or English for like pilots or doctors. And I was like, wait, what about these other jobs? And there was nothing like that. So I started writing my own material, and more like I call it more real life immigrant English. And then I decided to launch my platform, my online school, focusing on this specific kind of English for the hardworking immigrant. And I think that's why it's doing so well, because I know how it feels, and I have walked that same path. And also, the resources that I offer are very like raw, very uh, real, more.
Hands on?
Yes,
Is that
yes,
what you're trying to say?
yes,
Like
yes.
everyday life
Everyday
experience type of
life,
a thing?
but not just like going to the supermarket, but like even just getting your social security number, things that if a person has not been an immigrant in the United States, there are things that people don't know that you have to go through and that you are terrified to do, like when you have to go for the first time to get your social security number, because Americans get that at birth, right? But we as adults, we have to go and fill forms, and we have to do that the first week we are in the States, but we have no idea where it is, and we don't speak English. So you are so scared, or you have to get your driver's license, or you have to go to your immigration appointments with your attorney, or your citizenship interviews, all this kind of stuff that people need guidance. So I'm writing all my programs and books for this specific experience.
Very good. Very good. Much needed. Much needed. That's kind of like what pushed me. I focus more on like the psychological experience that people are going through, like the culture shock, the dealing with the clashes between your family acts this way, but I'm living in this country and I've adopted some of these cultural norms that I
Right,
know are clashing with the way that my family expects me to continue to live and behave.
right.
And, so I deal with a lot of the psychological side of things, but there is space and such a need for helping people to learn the hands-on skills so that they can engage and work and go to school and thrive, right?
Yeah, and everything, even in the way of like romantic life. I do classes for every area of life, like the professional side of life, but also the people who want to go on a date, or when they're sick, or if they have to. I had a student who brought her glasses from her home country, but then she lost them and she was terrified of going to the doctor to get a new prescription. So she just went through life without her glasses. I use contacts. I cannot live without my glasses. And I couldn't believe that she had been living without glasses for 6 months just because of the fear of going to the doctor to get a prescription. So I remember that was one of the first books I wrote too, about how to go get your prescription glasses in the United States. And there are so many little aspects of life that people think it's so easy. You just go to Costco and get the 99. But people that have never experienced that, that have very basic English, they are terrified. You literally have to grab them by the hand and show them the way and tell them that it's going to be okay. And I'm going to give you not just the cheerleading aspect of you can do it, but also, yes, you can do it, but how do I do it? You know?
Right, right. Walking through the steps and how to
Yes.
communicate, the words to use. It's very specific type of communication here in the US as well too.
Yes.
And then from another language too, like making that relevant for the person who thinks in Spanish. How do you know translate that into English?
Yes.
Okay, great, great. That's very much needed. And tell us about like how has the business been going over the last several years? Like where do people find you online? How do they engage you and so forth?
So it's a pretty new business. I always say it's kind of like a toddler. This is our fourth year, and this is our best year yet, because we're final. I have been planting seeds for 3 years, and now finally this year we're seeing a lot of growth because we have a lot of community now, all community, but new people are coming. And I decided that I was going to put my lessons and my resources. I have free resources and paid resources, and I decided that I was going to put them everywhere I could. So I am literally everywhere you can imagine. We have a saying in Spanish that says "Estás hasta en la sopa," which means I'm even in the soup that you drink for lunch. That's like the same. So you can find me as Inglés pa mi gente, which is our name. Inglés pa mi
Mhm.
gente, which translates to English for my people. Um, and we are everywhere: Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Threads, YouTube, Spotify, Google, everywhere we can find us. And we have our free resources and our paid resources.
Okay, okay. And are you doing all of this yourself, or do you have a team of people working with you how do you engage on social media in so many spaces? Because I find it challenging to be in all
And
those places.
when I started, I was doing it by myself for 3 years. So I think that's why it was going so slow. But as of last year, I finally I started a little team with 2 people helping me, and this year 2 more people. So there are 5 of us, and I feel like that has really helped me to be in so many places at the same time, because it is challenging and it is a lot of work, tons of work. So do I always want to be the teacher. I am the teacher. I teach all my lessons myself, but then now I have people that help me with all the social media management, edition of captions and editing and all that kind of stuff. I have people to help me with that now. And I have a podcast on Spotify that focuses on pronunciation for Spanish speakers, and I have a person that helps me with that as well. And I am doing all the writing of the programs and the teaching of the programs. And then I have another person that helps me with tech and customer service.
Okay, okay. All right. So your podcast is solely like on Spotify. Is it video where you're going through showing people how to pronounce things and things
Yeah,
like that? So it's a very um it's probably more geared, well, I suppose not necessarily Spanish speakers. Everybody could join to learn if they're learning English for the first time.
yeah, we're learning pronunciation. The pronunciation is very focused on the problems that you have as a Spanish speaker, but we're learning words for careers. So we're learning a lot of job, and every chapter it focuses on a different job. So like this chapter is only the English for teachers, this one just for nurses, this one just for landscapers. So it's very focused on working
Mhm.
English.
Okay, very good, very good. Um, let's see. I usually try, we're just about 36 minutes in. I usually try to end the show with a little bit of humor.
I like that.
And I want to ask you, is there any time during your 10 years in the United States, or even when you went from Colombia to Spain, that there was like somewhat of a faux pas? These happen all the time. People just make social um mistakes that they just don't understand. It means something else in one country and it means something else in another country, right? And you messed up. Is there such a situation that you made a faux pas, and how did you handle it? Is there a humorous one? Even better. But it doesn't necessarily have to be humorous either.
I have messed up so many times that I go to. But I remember one here, as I said, I was a teenager. I grew up in Spain. I went to United States from Spain, and here there's really not a topic that you cannot talk about. In
Mm,
Spain, you can talk about anything: people's weight, people's salaries, sex. You can talk about anything in Spain. And I just went there, and I thought that every topic was acceptable. So I was always asking inappropriate questions, and my husband was always kicking me under the table all the time until I found out. He told me the rule is don't talk numbers, please, age, weight, or money. And I was always asking all these questions that in my head were natural. A friend of mine told us, I can't stay for dinner because I have a doctor's appointment. And I say, why? What is wrong with you? What do you have sick? Do you have to go to what kind of doctor you have to go? When is your appointment? What's going on? And they didn't want to talk about it. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I was just worried about your health. But apparently it was too many questions at once from me.
mm. Okay, so you had to learn the social interaction when you're dealing with more like an American audience, right? They don't want to, they might feel like you're prying into their personal
Yeah,
business if you ask too many
too
questions.
many details. I want to know all the details. Now I know that it's more general information.
Right, because in collectivist cultures, people share a lot, and if you don't share, then I mean that means something, right, in their eyes. And so, and I mean, I guess there's a good side to sharing where you feel cared for. People know what's going on with you. They're looking out for you. But then on the other side, it could just be like a lot of being nosy. Like
Yes, no,
I,
see.
I came across somebody discussing this idea as to why people in collectivist culture gossip so much. It can seem like gossiping, like everybody's talking about everybody's business. And when I was growing up, that was like a regular thing. But as
Yeah.
I've gotten older and become more Americanized, it is so uncomfortable to me.
Yeah.
And but somebody explained it is they were like people share so much or overshare or appear to be gossiping because it makes them feel close, right?
Yeah, it's about care.
Something Yeah, if something's happening and they share it, they feel like it draws them closer, they feel connected. And yeah, I'm still working on that mentally, but sometimes it can appear like gossiping and it makes me very uncomfortable as I've gotten older, even though I
Yeah.
understand it, right?
Yes, 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 of course. Yeah, you always have to be navigating both things, both cultures.
Yes, definitely. You're definitely a third culture person in this space, as I like to call you, and you're raising a third culture child,
Ah,
right? As I am too, adjusting, living in the in between, learning so much.
yes, the in
Um,
between, that's the space.
Definitely. Okay. So, any final words that you'd like to leave us with for the audience?
Well, I would just like to say that if you ever encounter a person who has broken English, to just be extra kind and extra patient and give them at least a second chance to say their sentence. If you don't get them the first time, just ask them, can you repeat again? Just because they're so scared. We are so scared when we're starting in the second language, and people are doing their best. They really are. My students are doing their absolute best when they venture into the world to do simple things, and for them it's a big deal. So if you are a native speaker or you already speak English perfectly, just extra kindness to those people who are
Yes,
starting.
definitely a little bit of a patience while they are learning,
Yeah,
right? Yes, it can be quite harsh. And then some people can retreat to what we call enclaves. They
they
live in their communities
they
and they are
100% do.
scared to leave
They do.
because of what they will experience if they are not able to communicate outside of those spaces. So,
They do.
um, yeah,
And
and
it's
I think we all probably lose when people don't engage and share their worlds, right?
yes, exactly. It is a win-win if we all get to engage together, even through not perfect English. It's still connection, which is the purpose of language. It's not about speaking perfectly, it's about connecting with people, and that's what really matters.
Very good. Well, thank you so much, Erica. Thanks for joining the Immigrant Experience in America. It was a pleasure learning about your business and your multiple worlds that you're living in between.
Thank you very much. I will share with you my link to my free resources. So if you ever find a person who has broken English, you can send them our way. We have tons of free resources for people.
Very good. Yeah, so we'll get all the details from Erica to put those in the show notes and get those released to our audience and so people can find the help and assistance that they need in adjusting and learning English.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Simon.
Thank you so much. We will let me just end officially. So thank you all for joining us. For those of you who may have popped into the room while we're listening, thanks for sharing this time with us today. And join us next time for another episode of the Immigrant Experience in America. Take care. Walk good.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay. All right. I'm ending stream.